This week, the DOJ commenced a trial against Google for antitrust violations. The DOJ is accusing Google of abusing its market power in search and search advertising and engaging in unfair practices to eliminate its competition. It's fitting that this suit is starting just after 9/11 because the last time the DOJ tried a case like this was in 2001 against Microsoft. You may wonder what antitrust means. The term is mostly used in the US, and it was coined based on a tactic of 19th century robber barons who used trusts to consolidate webs of companies with anti competitive agreements. That practice is long gone, but the jargon remains. I'll leave some more detail about how US antitrust works in the description. Antitrust claims are always complicated. They usually turn on detailed analysis of market information, and defining markets is tricky. In this video, I'm focusing only on one aspect of both the turn of the century Microsoft case and this new Google case, which is the bundling of the browser.
Heather thinks about software.
Famously, in the case brought against Microsoft, the government asked the court to fine Microsoft $1 million a day until it unbundled Internet Explorer and its Windows operating system. But then some wags did a calculation and determined that if Microsoft decided to ignore the court and just pay this fine every day, it would run out of money never. The interest on Microsoft's massive cash reserves at the time was more than $1 million per day. That case against Microsoft was largely considered unsuccessful. The only thing that eventually challenged the hegemony of Microsoft was Linux. Maybe the government should have just funded open source development instead. In practice, monopolists are usually their own worst enemy, or perhaps their biggest enemy is just time. In the 1970s, the most feared monopoly was ITT, but you've never heard of them, right? Well, they were formed in 1920 and produced specialty technology products back when only huge companies produced high tech. These days, ITT is still around, but no one in the tech space fears them anymore. In fact, if you mention ITT, more people probably think of ITT Technical Institute, an ITT spinoff that was a private vocational education company. It closed down in 2016 after some scandals about recruiting practices and abuse of the federal student loan program. How the mighty have fallen. The biggest success of U.S. antitrust enforcement was the breakup of AT&T in the early 1980s and the creation of the baby bells. No, not those. The regional bell telephone companies. Yes, in the dark ages, we used to have to buy phone service and phones from the same company. That antitrust initiative was quite effective. After the breakup, scores of competitors flooded in, and both phones and phone service got much cheaper. And perhaps most important, Unix got licensed to the world for nothing, and ultimately resulted in the creation of Linux and free software, but that is a story for another day. In the Microsoft case in 2001, the government asked for Microsoft to be broken up into baby bills. That didn't happen. The government more successfully challenged Microsoft's actions in tying its browser to the operating system. Tying is a kind of antitrust violation where a vendor forces a consumer to buy multiple products together, but it's only unlawful if the two products are actually separate products. So, is a browser part of an operating system or not? The answer is not that easy. During the antitrust case, Microsoft claimed that Internet Explorer could not be uninstalled from Windows, which of course caused people to immediately demonstrate how it could be done. Today, we all probably think of browsers as separate from the operating system, but it wasn't always that way. In the 2001 lawsuit, Microsoft called IE a brand rather than a separate product. As we know, its branding attempts for the browser were always hit and miss, i.e. Edge and now Bing, whereas Windows is still a dominant brand. So, in a way, Microsoft was right due to its own missteps with the browser. But in any case, Microsoft lost that part of the 2001 battle and had to stop requiring their OEMs to bundle Explorer and Windows and not other browsers. After that case, both Firefox and Chrome rose to challenge Internet Explorer, and they both basically won. We're seeing a theme here. Open source is actually a potent cure for monopoly power. In the current case against Google, the DOJ has challenged Google's practice of entering into tying and other arrangements that force pre-installation of its search applications in prime locations on mobile devices and make them undeletable regardless of consumer preference. Even though that sounds similar to the claims of 2001, the world has changed. These days, changing browsers is as easy as changing your socks. Recently, even Safari has been gaining ground on Chrome. Bing gained some ground against Chrome lately too, and probably briefly due to its ChatGPT integration. What all this shows is that, in a way, Microsoft was right at the time. Browsers on their own just aren't as useful as browsers integrated with the operating system. Otherwise, we would all still be using Firefox. It's telling that today, search is integrated with operating system platforms more heavily than ever. Many of us, in fact, kind of find this annoying. You may be able to avoid Bing, for example, but avoiding Safari on an Apple device is nearly impossible. The main change, though, is not all due to monopolies and walled gardens. Operating systems are now inextricably bound up with the internet, unlike in 2001. So it may be very difficult to unbundle search from other platform functions. Doing so might even make the user experience much worse. Also, the endgame here is not clear. If Google has to give up some of its search dominance, that part of the market will probably just go to others like Apple or Microsoft, and it will probably be an AI-based search. So the result may simply be a different division of the pie among the tech behemoths. So we will see if the DOJ fares any better than its disappointing outing of 2001. And by the way, go download Firefox. Even after all these years, it's still pretty cool. Liking and subscribing makes me think more.
Heather thinks about software.